So just comparing the sound of the amp, sort of pushing the master into the Wuzzer amp expander compared to just running straight into the cab and keeping the master volume low. I don't think either setting was better or worse. I feel like the sound is a bit more lively without the attenuator amp expander in the way. It seems like the low end punches a bit more without that in there. And you don't really need to push the power amp of a metal style preamp gain amp like this. I think that at high volumes, having that master up helps, compared to low volume really choking it down. But I don't think it's not the type of amp you would buy an expensive attenuator for, where that attenuator is more suited with non-master volume circuits like plexis and things like that. With the Bugera 6262, obviously based on a PV 6505 or 6534 plus, something like that, it doesn't really benefit from that attenuation, but it's still an interesting test just to see how the tone changes as you bring up the master volume. So it sounded a bit more compressed with the amp expander. I will normalize the clips, but I did record them at pretty much the same volume. Looking at the waveform on the monitor now, it looks like the clips with the amp expander are a little bit more compressed. There's a little bit less dynamic range, but there's not a whole lot in it really. I mean, you're playing with that much gain, it's going to be compressed anyway. The main thing though, I think it helps to be able to raise that master volume up a bit, because the EQ responds, the actual EQ controls in the amp respond completely differently when you have the master volume up. You have to dial them in completely differently when it's right down, because it's almost choking the entire tone stack circuit when it's down that low, in that there'll be a whole lot of presence towards the end of the presence knob, but it's kind of darker as well because it's just not feeding through the circuit properly. So it does seem to help to have the master up if you can, or a way of attenuating it just to get more control over the EQ before you're recording. But I haven't actually listened to the recorded clips yet, so I'm going to do that now and then maybe have a better opinion. Having had a quick listen to the clips, I think that the clip with the amp expander actually sounds better. It's weird. In the room, it kind of feels a bit better without the attenuator there, but with it, there's a lot more mids, and the recorded tone just seems like it will sit a little bit better in the mix. It just seems like the mids sound fatter with the master volume up being attenuated down by the amp expander, because it's a little bit scooped without that. And even if you bring up the mids with the master volume down, they're kind of pushing not as nice of a frequency as they are with the master up. Overall, I think the Bugera 6262 is a good amp, especially for the price. Pretty crazy value that Music Tribe, Behringer, Bugera are able to hit with these amps, but it's just because they have a efficient factory and they do so much in-house, including even component manufacture and things like that. This is borrowed from a friend. I probably wouldn't buy one myself, only because I don't trust the build quality that much. I know that the Infinium series, they fixed whatever issues they had with the previous models, and there's some quotes from, I think, one of the engineers themselves on a few forum threads and videos and such, detailing exactly what they repaired in the pre-Infinium Bugera amps that were causing I think some sort of catastrophic failure. This one is an Infinium. I've just read that on the faceplate. It sounds excellent, but it doesn't feel like a very high quality piece of equipment. And given the high power nature, the fact that it uses old school valves, I would probably rather save and just try and find a used PV compared to this. Personally, I guess a PV will probably cost about twice as much, but I think the peace of mind and just the general kind of vibe of having the real thing, whatever that means, is slightly more worth it in this case. But I'm still happy using this. It's great to borrow it from a friend, although I really honestly do worry about something going wrong, especially cranking it into the amp expander. It just doesn't feel like something that you just want to crank like you would with a Marshall, where in my experience you can kind of trust it to not blow a fuse, blow a transformer, blow a set of valves when you're cranking it for hours on end. This, it seems well made. Haven't looked at the insides. Apparently it's decent, but Music Tribe, they have a reputation, for better or worse, for poor quality control and poor reliability. Even though they have taken steps to escape that reputation, I still think they have a bit further to go, and this is obviously, this amp, you know, it could be 5 or 10 years old at this point, so it might be from the darker days, but still a good company. I like a lot of things that they make, but I don't really own many of them. I just prefer to own less things but buy quality things when I do.